Well, there seems to be something absolutely magical happening around video games right now. And while this is something I wanted to talk about quite a while ago, now another opportunity arrived. You see, over the many years of the quote-unquote viral games coming out, every time we got a big new hit, it was always a new genre of a game that swept the world. Be it League of Legends kinda mainstreaming Dota, Fortnite bringing battle royales to the masses, with perhaps the latest viral game being Among Us. After which, the viral games kinda slowed down. And it seems like no one can really figure out what kind of a game genre can be pushed forward next. And funnily enough, that's all happening while some other video game genres are slowly dying. I mean, when was the last time you played a point-and-click adventure game? Or when was the last time a real-time strategy game was mainstream? Well, hold on to that thought because things might be changing now. If we go back through the history of video games, you'll see that RTS games are at the heart of all gaming. Be it Age of Empires, Warcraft, or even StarCraft, which became the first ever worldwide known esport, which only got bigger through StarCraft Brood Wars, and then even the Colossus StarCraft 2. So how come we don't see any RTSs these days? Well, for the most part, it's because companies are kinda afraid of them now, which to be honest is quite a shame. Yes, there are many strategy games that get big, but they never really go mainstream. I would really say StarCraft 2 was the last one to do that. And don't look up when that game came out, you're gonna feel old. Which is why I am really happy to say this entire unnecessarily long intro is leading into something glorious. Stormgate. See, Stormgate is an RTS that is closely following what came before. It's being developed by the Frostgiant Studios, which was announced about 3 years ago, with the game itself having official announcement a year ago. That's when I really started paying attention to it. And since then, every now and then we get an update on what's gonna be in the game, how it's looking so far, and more, it started to look like a proper successor to StarCraft 2, which is something gaming in general has not seen in a while. And finally, people really started paying attention to it only a few days ago during the Game Awards, where Stormgate got a new trailer to show off. Now, after looking at some of the footage from this game, you'll get to see just how close it looks to StarCraft, and yet how different it feels from it. There is no denying this is obviously inspired by the previous RTS titles. Which is, again, for a very simple reason. Nobody is making these games anymore. So maybe giving it a go would be a good idea. The thing is, if you look at the early footage, it actually looks really good. And there is a very good reason why. We'll get to that one in just a second. The big thing we have to mention before that is that as a result of the Game Awards, Frostgiant Studios also announced their Kickstarter for Stormgate, which is nothing really unusual for developers to do, but no one could predict what would actually happen with this. Because after recognizing the almost nostalgic feeling of old school RTS games, people piled up all over this project, and in less than 2 days, they got over $1 million together, even though they asked for $100,000. Yeah, the hype is real for this game at the moment. So you know what, let me show you some more about this game. You see, one of the reasons why this game looks so authentic to the classic RTS games is because it's being made by veterans. And specifically, we're talking about veterans from Command & Conquer, Warcraft and StarCraft. So yes, when you see the little base with the little workers picking up the basic material, but then you also have the gas.
You require more Vespene gas.
Which is exactly like how it works in StarCraft. Yeah, that's on purpose. They are taking the StarCraft formula and building on top of it because they know it works. I mean, the devs making Stormgate are the same devs who made the original mechanics. Which is again why this game has so much potential. Now, what's awesome is that this game should be also borrowing the monetization system from StarCraft. which means that the PvP competitive side should be free to play. I don't have a confirmation for it yet, so maybe I'll just pop it up on the screen. With the PvE campaigns, which can be played as a solo or as co-op, being the thing you buy. Again, this is exactly how StarCraft worked. But that's not where the similarities end. Because in the Kickstarter, they also show us that yes, they are working on the campaigns, they are also working on the co-op mode, they are also working on the competitive PvP, but they also have the custom game modes. And I don't mean that they are making their own custom game modes. No, they are giving the community the tools to make their own games. In case you forgot, this is how League of Legends was born. League of Legends was originally Dota, which was a game inside Warcraft 3. This sounds so amazing, to be honest. Though we need to point out, it also looks amazing. And that's for one simple reason. This runs in Unreal Engine 5. However, normally Unreal Engine 5 may actually have quite the limitations when it comes to multiplayer games. Which is why the Frost Giant Studios made their own upgrade to the engine, and they made a sort of a masterful patchwork of their own engine and the Unreal Engine, and they created something glorious. Right now, their game can support thousands of units with real-time updates. They can have up to 32 players playing at the same time, with players jumping in the middle of a game, reconnecting, and even fully supporting replays from the very beginning. Not to mention, they have a feature every competitive game should have. A rollback. Yeah, League of Legends. We would actually like to have that too, please. Now, in this Kickstarter, they also dive a little bit deeper into the races. Just like StarCraft had the Terran and the Zerg and the Protoss, here you will also have 3 very different races that you can play. The humans are, I'm pretty sure, called Vanguard here. And they are your classic soldiers who are running around with giant machine guns, armor, and big mechs. But instead of the Zerg to not have another alien race, they have the Infernal Host. They should function very similar to the Zerg. Maybe they will be also all about having their own territory. You know, I remember Creep. Oh god, do I remember Creep. But they also have a third unannounced faction. I think it's pretty safe to say this is gonna be a bit more alien one, kinda like Protoss. I mean, that's what people would expect. Which is what leads us into the next part. You may see that the devs already have some pretty good cinematics. It is obvious that the team is taking their campaign very seriously. They're not just making sure they have a fun PvP game, they also want to make sure people are playing the game for the story. Which is what most people did for games like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. Most people didn't actually play the PvP side. And yes, here the cinematics do have a little bit more of a cartoony look, but it definitely fits together with how the overall game looks. So yes, it's not a Blizzard kind of cinematic quality, but it totally fits the game anyway. Not to mention, very early in the development of this game, apparently, the devs teamed up with Chris Metzen. And with his help, they crafted this universe. Now, if you don't know, Chris Metzen was one of the key people when it came to crafting the Warcraft universe and the StarCraft universe. So you know what? Yeah, that universe is starting to have potential now. From some of the teasers, the story is interesting too. It's a futuristic world where humanity is being destroyed by Hell. You know, that's the Zerg race. They pretty much just opened a gateway to Hell and the Hell spawns came in. In a way, it really reminds me of something like Doom. Just brutal, hellish monsters being destroyed by giant mechs. And honestly, I love this. I mean, look at the concept art of some of the units. This really looks awesome. And that's not just for the hellish creatures, the humans look amazing too. Look, I am a big mech guy. I like mechs. After which, in the Kickstarter, they show us the crazy thing. They are giving us a fully functional game editor. Here you can make your own maps, your own game modes. And you know what? I am pretty sure the next League of Legends is gonna be born here. How many days since someone makes a Dota in this? To be honest, this is still Unreal Engine 5. Making something look disgusting in this is gonna be hard. So I think people are gonna have a blast with this yet again. Now at the end of this, the devs mentioned the reason why they started this Kickstarter. Up until this point, for the last 3 years, they haven't really received a single cent from anyone. This entire game was created with their own funding. And while they got their own beta version of a game working, with the funds they could do a lot more. And again, oh boy do people like the idea of this game. And because these kinds of people are also collectors, me included, as a part of this Kickstarter there will also be a collector's edition with a physical item. That being the statue of their main mech, which honestly looks pretty dope. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having this one in my collection. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to show you. There is a dev studio that just decided to revive an entire game genre on their own. And from the feedback, it seems like they are succeeding. Now I'll be honest, when you look at the trailer they showed for the Game Awards, it didn't look anywhere as cool as what they've shown in the Kickstarter. I don't think the one they showed there did them any justice. Which is a shame, because again, the game looks stellar. And I am so ready to get my nostalgia kicking in again, which is where I would like to ask, am I the only one who feels like this? They got $1 million from this, there is no way I'm the only one. Does it mean that I'm too old? Can they also revive point-and-click games?